So this is the fourth exercise in this series of how to paint, and I'm undercoating the top 3/4 of the board with white paint, just a little bit of white, and then I'll dip it in a little bit of cobalt blue and give it a blue tint. So that's white with a very little blue tint. Just a bit of blue here and there. Just a close look. But not much, that's the cobalt blue. Just so you haven't got pure white. Now on my palette, I like this little palette, the chopping board. I have cobalt blue, a little bit of raw sienna, and a little tiny bit of crimson. And plenty of white available. Pick up a little bit of blue and give us a misty tree, very misty tree. A little bit dark, lighter. You can rub your colours in till you get what you want. It's very misty. The more misty you can make it, the more realistic it'll look. So put those misty trees here and there all over the painting. Leave spaces between them, little white spaces. Just a blotchy, misty look. My paint's dried, I put some white up there, ready. Blotchy, misty look. In there, you can do that if you wish, yes. On the corners, on the edges, I've gone a little bit darker. I always do, to keep the light into the middle of the picture. Work your paints together on the board. That's white and blue. But try not to have any pure white and certainly no pure blue. The blue is much too dark for what we want here. And make sure all your board is covered, all the top of your board. Don't worry about the bottom, but all the top of the board is covered with paint. We don't need to go back over it, so there's no canvas showing. A little bit darker in the corner there. Put some white over the top and rubbed it in because it was too dark. Just take your time, but don't keep working on it until you've got nothing left. Make sure you've got spaces. Along here. Just a mist, that's all we want. And then with my flat hole bristle brush, I'll dirty it in the blue paint to make sure it's got blue on it and nothing else. And pick up a little bit of the blue, there's a little bit on there already, a bit of the white. Get some light tones on your brush, and with that we can paint in the ghosty tree trunks in the background there, very softly. That one's a little bit dark. I picked up some white on the side of the brush and run a white line down that. That should look okay. And that white will fade into the blue. It's hard to keep a pure white line when both paints are wet. That'll fade into the blue. That's okay. Another one here. You can see it's starting to look like misty bush. That's exactly what we want. Big one there. Keep that one facing into the picture. As long as you have light on one side of the brush and darker on the other side of the brush, it'll give you a look of a round tree trunk. There we are. And darken it in here. We'll clean our brush across the bottom. And the same on the other side. Leaning out of the picture, that's okay. We can compensate it by having another one into the picture here. Not much paint on my brush here. Better put a big one there. Maybe a little bigger one back in there. And again, I'll clean my brush down here. So that's given us background trees. So we do need a few branches on them. I picked up my round soft brush, not a very little one, quite a good size one. It's got two colours on, it's got the light and the dark. This dark is too dark, you'll see it comes off too dark. So I'll touch it up with a white over the top and work it in. I'll clean my brush over here and load it with a paler colour. That one was too dark. I'll leave it there for the moment, we can fix it later. And try and paint it very pale. Sometimes it's hard to stay pale, but stay pale with these lines. A few tree trunks like this. Not many, not too many, just enough to make it interesting. Make sure you know that this is a forest back here. A misty forest. That one wasn't dark enough. Bit darker colour on the brush, that's not what I want, it's too dark. That's okay. A little bit of something on the ground there. And you can come forward and slowly come darker as you come forward with these brush strokes. You over here. If we place one somewhere like back in there, that'll give us a bit more perspective. The eye will be travelling back up into this gully here or into the forest here to see where that white goes. And I'll darken along here too a little bit. And also, just here I'll have something dark, maybe brush in this better. Just a little bit darker there, so the eye doesn't travel off the picture there. So that's our background finished. Now for the foreground. Let's fill it in with the blue first. That's a good idea. What I want you to learn here is to keep your brush very clean when you're working in the background and to separate your colours, from your background colours from your foreground colours. Here I'm filling it in with the blue because it's very convenient, the blue is just there, but we'll put the red in. But we don't want any red getting into the background. By red I mean crimson. That's a pretty blue, that cobalt blue. Very pretty. And then with a little bit of crimson on your brush, run it right along the bottom. Then crisscross it up into the blue. That'll give you a pretty purple. Very strong colour, the crimson, and almost black. It's not black, don't use black. You can use these colours rather than black. I'll put white, and over the top of that I'll run some raw sienna. And with the fan brush, we can turn that into grass. Oh, it's dried already. So there's blue grass there, that's okay. Coming into green, leave some of your whites, just leave a few of your whites there. And bring this into the picture. And then bring your crimson up into it. If you're working in oils, be careful, just do it once, and that's all. Just once. Because I'm working in acrylics, I can do it quite a few times because the paint dries a bit. Sometimes if your paint's wet in acrylics, you still have to be very delicate with your brush strokes. Now in there we'll paint a little cottage. To paint the little cottage, I've picked up on my size 10 flat hog bristle brush some blue, that's cobalt blue. We might as well stay with the colours we're using. We could use burnt umber or something here, but it stands out too much. Let's just use this. We'll introduce the other colours later. Now the cottage, where to put the cottage? Not too close to the edge, not in the middle, and let's say about there. Now there's the middle of the board. That's about a quarter of the way in from the edge of the board. Put the cottage there. And I'll block it in and then I'll show you why I blocked it in here. Only a little house, very little, that makes the trees look big. Also, if you paint a little one and you make a mistake, you can always make it bigger by painting over the top of it. You might want to sketch this on a pad sometime when you're doodling. Your cottage is this shape. That's the shape of your cottage. And then your roof goes on. It goes up here. Like that. And the roof's filled in here. So it's bigger because it's close to us here than what it is there or there. Also, I've got my cottage a little bit low. The eye level, imagine if you're standing in a forest like this, your eye would be about this height. So if you're standing in the house, your eye wouldn't be right up here, your eye would be about there. So my cottage is a bit low. So let's make a bigger cottage and I'll take it up. And that fixes that. So your cottage, you judge your height of your cottage by the eye level. And the eye level is about there, and that is about the level of the top of the window, or halfway up the window. Because these are huge trees, these are very big trees. So if you're standing under the tree, you're just standing about there. The tree might be 100 or 200 foot high. Huge, huge. There's another window. So that's the height of your cottage is determined by the horizon line. The horizon line runs straight through there. On that line, everything's level. We'll block those out. We don't need them at the moment. They're just reference for you. And you can sketch this on your practice board as many times as you wish. Now I've finished blocking in the roof. The roof is this shape. That's that cottage, blocked in blue. I'll add a bit of crimson, that'll give me some darks. I picked up pure crimson there, but I didn't clean my brush, so therefore there's a bit of blue on it. I mixed my colours on the painting here. This has gone into a browny, reddy, browny colour. And here too. Let's have a bit here, but have it pretty vague over one wall and dark over the other wall. With a bit of crimson on my brush, I'll put on the roof. I think burnt sienna would look better there. So with a little bit of burnt sienna, I'll run it through my white with my flat brush again. And you'll see that comes up, and put a bit of blue in that too. It comes up about the colour of rusty corrugated iron. So we'll pick that up on the brush, on the tip of the brush, and take it across to our little house. Watch the way I use the brush. I place the brush on, using this flat edge as my guide, and it goes on the top of the roof. And then I pull the brush down the roof. That gives me my pieces of tin. Because I haven't mixed my paint together, it gives me stripes. So that's the tin on the top of the roof. And the bottom of the roof, this one's a little bit harder brush stroke to do, but it works every time. Load the brush again, and the brush is very sharp. While the brush is loaded, I might as well put in a water tank. I'll put a little bit of dark on it also. I'll fill in here with some blue, and burnt sienna will give me a shadow. The house needs some windows. Window, door, window, and then with my round soft brush I've picked up some burnt sienna and white. You can use pure white, or a light blue line on here looks nice. A white line does look good at times. That line should have a bit of dark on it. And a little bit of detail on the windows. Don't do too much detail on the windows. There's no need to detail your house completely. It'll spoil your picture if you do. And sometimes a ladder leaning on the wall gives you a little bit of perspective there. And I think mine needs a white line about there. Now my flat hog bristle brush loaded with paint, paint in the road. It comes just towards us, and the brush stroke gets bigger as it comes towards us. I loaded the brush with the two colours, but they're not mixed together. So that'll give us that gravelly road look. Touch it up here and there so it's a little bit rough looking. And then with a fan brush, touch up your grass around the road. Put a bit of dark grass there. And I've picked up on the fan brush a few light colours, just doesn't matter what they are. We'll have a little flowers around the edge of the house. A few little flowers. I can turn that into grass, but if it's no good, I'll cut it out. No, I don't like it. and a similar bit here. We'll put our big tree in here. So I've loaded plenty of darks on my palette. I have the cobalt blue and burnt sienna. They'll make a colour almost black. So we'll have a choice of three colours. We'll have cobalt blue, burnt sienna, or the dark colour that I mix. And this is it. Very dark. Oh, that white got in there. Don't let any white get in. Then clean your knife first, and then dirty it on one side in the burnt sienna. Maybe a touch of blue, but don't mix the colours together here. Pick up white with a dirty knife. See all those colours? They're going to be the colour of the bark on your tree. Then the dark on the other side of your knife. So your knife's loaded with two colours, the dark and the light. And then you can sculpt your tree onto the painting. Well, I want it to face in, so let's have it come right across here. There's plenty of paint on the knife, so I can afford to come right across here and sculpture it on here. Like that. Don't worry about what's in the background. There. That's our first bit of a tree. Not quite wide enough in this area here. Have to balance it with what's up the top there. And because it's that shape, it's the same shape as a branch in the background. That wasn't intentional, that just happened. We need another one here. So I've loaded the knife again in exactly the same way, and we'll bring another big bit of tree down through here, maybe wobble it a bit. A few more darks. And have a very dark butt on your tree. Now with a little round brush with the dark colours loaded, we can put in our branches, pull them in facing towards the house. That gives the eye around the picture, brings the eye around the picture. One here, here. Try and have a few branches crossing, like that one. Bring this one back into the picture also. We can have some white on these too. They can come in like that, with a white line also, as well as a blue line. Down the inside of this tree, I'll run a very white line. It should be maybe the whitest bit of your picture is that line down the inside of the tree there. And again here. So just hold your brush with a couple of fingers and pull it down and twist it off. On the tip of your knife is loaded in the same way with the darks and lights. We can place in our fence posts. I think it's supposed to go well right there. Don't stop it on that line, have it stop below the line or above the line. Trouble is if I put it there it lines up with that tree. That's not a good idea. I think I'll bring it back here. It's our first fence post. Same again, have them leaning and they're very dark, which will throw the background back further. Maybe a strut on this one. You don't need to put that in if you don't wish. If there's something there that looks very nice behind it, leave it out. Another one about here. And a little one in the distance. Not so obvious. On top of your fence post, put a dot of white. Here I load my knife by touching it in the darker paints. That'll give us wire on the fence. And then place the wire on the fence. That's it. That's an easy way to paint wire. Now the bottom of the fence post must look like it disappears into the ground. So I'll make sure there's a dark colour underneath there, and the same with the tree. That tree looks a little bit like it's floating, so we'll change that. Touch it up. Put a few dark colours there. And turn them into grass. That was burnt sienna and the cobalt blue. And that'll give us grass. I'd like to see something laying around. A few sticks. There was two colours on the knife, just touch them on. And the same for the other side of our painting. You can make the wire cut across your house if you wish. There. Oh, good straight wire, isn't it? Nice and tight. Maybe he still lives there. Now to paint a wheel leaning on this post, just draw a circle. It doesn't have to be round, something like that. Pick up some dark colours on the tip of your brush. You see I'm using 2 fingers and the very tip of my brush. Paint in the spokes for the wheel. And here again, don't be too fussy. This is an old wheel, been around a lot. And also it's got a lot of spokes missing and it's possibly not round anymore. Then I'll paint in the centre of the wheel. And it should come to life now when I touch up the grass around it. For some reason I've got a line across there. It could be the shadow of the tree, that's all right. But I prefer to show the road going through between the posts. Doesn't matter. Don't try and copy my picture exactly. It is a good idea though to have a white bit about there on your picture. This will attract your eye to that area. I'll make it look a bit more like road. So that picture could be finished, it's up to you. If you want to put leaves on your trees, that's okay. If you want to put a few more little branches and leave it, that's okay. I'll put leaves on, I'll pick up plenty of blue and burnt sienna together on the brush at once. That's a round hog bristle brush and it's saturated with paint. It's a wet brush, it's not a dry brush. I'll pick up raw sienna on the other side, so that gives me the 2 colours. You see how it's pulled to a nice chisel point? Then with our dab, we can put foliage on that tree. Not a lot, you can see through it. Anything on the tree you don't particularly like, you can put foliage over it. You may not want to put your foliage on, you might want to leave the tree without foliage. I'll put foliage on so you know what to do. Here we are, and up here. And here, I'll fill the corner in. So your eye has to travel up the tree and in that direction. Also, I think with a little round brush we can have some bark hanging off the tree and make it look a little bit more old and weathered here and there. I'll darken that intersection of the tree and bark hanging off and the bottom here. Empty my brush there, a few little branches here and there, not many, just a couple. There. I think it needs a branch up there too, just to balance it. Well, that turned out a nice little painting. So that's our little cottage in the bush. That's a quick exercise and it's a good idea to practice this one and make sure you break the background from the foreground and you work with white paint in the background with tints in, and in the foreground you work with your dark paints, and that'll give you a perspective, a 3-dimensional look.
Thank you for painting with me today. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope your painting went well. Remember, there's many more DVDs available. All the lessons are designed for beginners. You can paint with oils or acrylics on all of my lessons. Children can paint these pictures also. Please contact me if you wish to comment, or if you have any problem with the DVD, or maybe there's something special you'd like me to include in my lessons. My website is worldwideweb.lenhen.com. Well, I hope to see you again. Enjoy your painting. Bye.